Welcome back, everybody. Let's get after it.
I want to know what he knows. He was recently asked if there's any story he is truly scared to cover, and he responded with UFOs. He said there's a side to this story that gets so dark he couldn't even tell his own wife. And he said there's a spiritual aspect of it that he doesn't even understand, which makes me wonder, what the heck are they hiding from us? Just check this clip out.
Are there things that you're scared to cover? You're sitting there saying, wow, this is like soul crushing, like to the point where like it really scares you in your soul.
There are two. Yes, there are two. One is the 2020 election. The second thing that bothers me is the UFO story. And, the more you dig into that and talk to people with actual knowledge of, there are parts of that story that I do not understand at all that are really, really, really dark. It's so dark that I haven't told my wife about it. I mean, I haven't verified any of this, but this is not just stuff that I read on the internet. I know you all are very, very grounded in that story, so I think I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff there that's just like, man, I'm not even sure what that means. There's a spiritual component there that I don't fully understand. So yes, that story bothers me. Part of it is the public can't deal with it. It's too far out. The implications are too profound. And I understand that, because I've heard things where I'm just like, oh man, I don't even really want to know that, honestly.
Deeply disturbing stuff. Forget like saucers and technology. It's deeply disturbing stuff that I haven't even told Natalie. Yep. I agree with you. It's so disturbing. Exactly. I can't even tell my kids. My kids ask me different stories about it, and I
believe Tucker Carlson, the man, from what I've seen, has never intentionally misled his audience. The guy from Redacted, I've watched their channel a few times. They do some good reporting, but I feel like they try to hyper-sensationalize everything. They do a lot of fear-mongering is what I'm trying to say. I'm not a big fan of that. Makes me believe him a little bit less. But if things are that bad, they need to be divulging it to the public so that we can make up our own minds on what we want to believe.
Attention. And we've looked at this film footage many times before, and just anomalous in a million different ways. But we won't discuss any of those today. We're going to go straight to the end of the track, or the terminal hub. And here we go, here we go, here we go, and watch this. Boom. Right at the end of the terminal, we see a date of erection being 896. 896 for this terminal hub, and essentially for the whole city. And what would happen? Only a few days after this film was shot, we would have the great supposed earthquake. And it would be interesting to find some photos of this. Here I'm trying to get a bunch of different frames, and as far as I can tell, it's as clear as could be. 896. Of course, let me know your thoughts. And thank you whoever shared this with me in San Francisco. And I've always marveled at these pictures found in old books, and we always wonder how they built these structures. And when I saw these images, I thought about some titans, some massive giants, just setting the building.
If anything, that's pretty interesting to see that building was erected in 896. It does kind of look like they added time, because this video footage looks like it's from 1896.
Unbelievably, President Vladimir Putin in 2013 made Tartaria maps public, and in 2017 he also gave a map created by William Blair of Tartaria to the former president of Tatarstan, also known as Tartaria. So how did William Blair have such a clear picture of this country if it didn't exist? We learn about the famous Egypt, the Persian Empire, the Ottoman or Roman empires, but all of this history is small in comparison to the Tartarian Empire, unless it isn't true and it's just a myth or a story. But you can find too many documents that state this region certainly did exist. The landmass and territory called Tartary and Great Tartary was an historical location in northern Asia that existed between the Caspian Sea, the Ural Mountains and the Pacific Ocean. Tartary was a blanket term used by Europeans for the areas of Central, Northern and Eastern Asia, as these parts were largely unknown to European explorers. This is why the entire geographic territory was known simply as Tartary, and its inhabitants were called Tartars.
This kind of sheds a little bit more light, and I got a comment down under my last video that went into a lot more detail. I would pull it up, but I'm using my phone to film. Went into a lot more detail about the history, the historical significance of Tartary and the Tartarian people, and how it is just used as a blanket term that encompasses a great swaths of land and peoples. Kind of makes it look like there's not a big mystery there. I'm going to keep watching these videos. I find them fascinating, and I still haven't made my mind up on it yet, so we'll keep digging into this Tartaria stuff. It's fun, if anything.
This is not a church. It was never a church. And if you give me 3 minutes, I'm going to absolutely turn your world upside down and blow your mind. You may have heard about a strange story going around that we were a part of an advanced civilization that fell apart due to some kind of invasion, and that incredible buildings like these, surrounded by all these smaller buildings, are actually part of 2 completely different worlds and times. If you're under the impression that structures like these can be built in our modern times, think again, because they can't, and they haven't been for hundreds of years. There are countless buildings like this scattered all over the world that we repurposed as banks, churches, universities, and state buildings. You'll also notice that a lot of these buildings have the word founded etched in the side instead of built. That's because we found them, we didn't make them. So let's talk about what these buildings were really used for before we repurposed them. It's becoming painfully obvious that our religions and our religious institutions do not serve us, and in fact were built to control us. We're starting to realize that many of the stories we've been told about our religions have been twisted and corrupted to imprison our minds and our spirits. Well, it gets so much crazier and worse than that, because these buildings were never churches. They were healing centers and amplification centers for our meditation and prayers to make our thoughts reality, word to flesh. The painted glass windows and all the geometric shapes were meant to amplify those frequencies outward and inward to heal us and create a protective force field around the building and around the empire. Going back to this picture, you see that circle right there? That's cymatics. Just go look up a video where they play sounds on sand and then the sand takes different shapes. It looks exactly the same as that. This architecture is a frozen masterpiece of music, which caused frequencies to emanate within and without to have all sorts of amazing and powerful effects. Yes, all the old stories of Atlantis and Tartaria are absolutely true, and you can see the evidence of it just by going to one of these churches. But it gets even crazier than that. Look at the domes here. Look at those little circular balls. These are conductors, okay? We don't have a cross or the moon and the star here, and there's a good reason why. I'm just going to put this ugly modern church in the background while we talk about this so this can really sink in for you. All of our religious symbols like crosses and moons and stars were actually just carefully crafted antennae. They were shaped that way to pull energy into the building. And now just think about how you have defined your entire life based on these symbols, defended them, fought other people over them, thought you were worshiping a god through that symbol. They are laughing in our face. And guess what? It gets even crazier in part 2 when we talk about the Orgone generator.
That seems like a very far-fetched idea. I don't know I'd put any weight in that one. The guy's going to have a lot more evidence to support his theory, because that's what it just sounds like. It's just a theory, and it sounds kind of far-fetched. Also, just wanted to throw in real quick here. If you've noticed, I've thrown in a progress bar at the bottom of each clip, so if it's something that you aren't particularly fond of watching, you can skip forward to the next clip.
Remember Planet X?
Yes.
The search for Planet X.
Nibiru.
There were several incarnations of Planet X.
Right.
That was among them. Okay.
That was the most wacky.
I'm talking about 100 years ago, Planet X. Okay.
Yes.
Uranus was moving weirdly. Nobody understood. Maybe there's a planet beyond it whose gravity we have yet to reckon in our equations. Up, boom! We discover Neptune. Wait a minute. Neptune is moving a little unfamiliarly, and this is odd. Well, we've been down that road before. before. There must be another planet out there, a Planet X. Let's look for it. So everybody started looking. 1993, a colleague of mine named Miles Standish. He looked at all of the data people were using to say Neptune's orbit was crooked. Then he found out that at one particular observatory, was it the gearbox or the timing mechanism, had just been cleaned or swapped out. He removed those data from his analysis and fitted data to all the other telescopes that he had for the positions of Neptune. When he did that, Planet X evaporated in that instant.
I don't know what I think about the whole Planet X thing, if I believe that there really is another planet out there or not, because that all falls in line, as far as I'm concerned, with the Anunnaki, Planet Nibiru stuff, and I don't really buy into the Anunnaki thing. I think it was probably most likely them trying to explain something they couldn't understand. I don't know for certain that it was aliens. It could have been a number of different things, or it could have just been all made up stories. There's also some conflicting details about the whole Anunnaki story, the way it was translated from the Sumerian text, whether or not it was accurate and all that stuff. So don't really have an opinion on that one, but thought it was interesting to hear that it's apparently been debunked that the planet even exists.
If this is true, it changes everything. According to historical records, the first ancient civilization known to us is that of the ancient Sumerians. The Sumerians existed over 6,000 years ago, predating the Egyptians by 1,000 years. They resided in a region known as Mesopotamia, which encompasses present-day Iraq and parts of Iran, Kuwait, Syria, and Turkey. The Sumerians referred to themselves as black-headed ones, or black-headed people, and held a belief in gods known as the Anunnaki, described as children of the earth and skies. Some researchers speculate that the ancient Sumerians had a remarkable understanding of the universe, as depicted in artifacts showing the solar system with planets orbiting the sun. Adding to their intrigue are depictions of ancient handbags and bracelets. The Sumerians made groundbreaking inventions, including the wheel, alphabet, and the calendar we use today. They also developed irrigation systems for farming, and established a system to measure time in seconds, minutes, and hours. Some believe that knowledge was bestowed upon them. The Sumerian civilization appears to have been one of the most advanced of its time, challenging modern explanations of our history. The discovery of 30,000 stone tablets from ancient Sumeria includes the story called the Epic of Gilgamesh, which features a great flood, an event also found in many other religious texts. Scientists link the end of the last ice age to several temperature anomalies and a significant rise in sea levels, likely caused by an asteroid impact. This catastrophic event may have led to the rapid melting of ice and widespread devastation to various species, including animals, plants, and humans. Some speculate that the tale of the Great Flood is not a mere myth, but a way of passing down knowledge through generations to ensure its survival. Recent findings, such as Göbekli Tepe in Upper Mesopotamia, dating back at least 11,600 years, have questioned the age and origins of the Sumerians. It is still uncertain where the ancient Sumerians originated from, and some theories suggest they may have migrated south into southern Mesopotamia, where the people of Göbekli Tepe became the Sumerians we know today. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments.
Say it's definitely possible that the inhabitants of Göbekli Tepe ended up migrating over to what we know as Sumeria and becoming the Sumerians. It's an interesting concept that our previously known oldest living generation of humans, the way we know them today, with written language and school and agriculture and forms of government, all of that. It's interesting to think that civilization is not just a little older, but thousands of years older than what we originally thought. I would love to get an accurate representation of just how long our species has been here in its current form, and to find out for sure if we are the only version of our species that's been here. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, I make another one just like it every single day. It would be awesome if you would subscribe and come back to join me tomorrow.
Tartarians also had their own flags, one of which was a dragon and the other an owl. There's a story behind the owl symbolism. Crazy story about Khan, who was the first emperor of Tartary. Khan was being chased after a battle and ran into a bush to hide. An owl was sitting on top of the bush and didn't fly away when it saw him. His pursuers came over and saw the owl, but didn't search the bush. thinking that if Khan was there, the owl would have gotten spooked and flown away. Genghis Khan was grateful for the bird preserving his life, and the Tartarians venerated the owl ever after. Many cultures like the Romans regarded it as an evil omen and the harbinger of death. The Athenians regarded the owl with veneration and saw it as a sign of wisdom, which seemed to carry over to this day. So depending on which culture you reference, the owl symbol could mean different things.
It's an interesting story for the origins of that flag.
Whatever was going on 6,000 years ago, whatever was going on, they were writing about some wacky shit, man. All that Zechariah Sitchin stuff. The books are weird, man. I believe it was like the 1970s. He's deciphering these ancient Sumerian texts from 6,000 years ago. This is the craziest one of all. Humans were genetically engineered from lower primates, and they were used to harvest gold. And that the Anunnaki needed gold because gold is very plentiful here and very hard to find, very rare on their planet. They said that they needed it to hang in their atmosphere to protect them from the sun because they were losing their atmosphere. We're losing our atmosphere. And one of the things that scientists have suggested is hanging reflective particles above the Earth in orbit so that it would mute out some of the effects of the sun. What he was saying in 1978 is what they suggested in like 2018.
I'll tell you another thing that's fascinating about that is whenever you see the Sumerians map of our solar system, they have Pluto in there, which we didn't discover until like 1930 or something like that. So that's an interesting tidbit.
Did you see that video of these two dirt bike riders? And one of them fucks up and rides his dirt bike past a bear's den.
No.
And doesn't realize it until the bear comes charging out of the den at him.
No.
Oh my God. Let me find it, Jamie. You got it? You got it. Look at it.
Jamie. Fuck it. $10 an hour.
Watch this. Look at this. Bro. Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
We crashed it right there.
Yeah. Look at this.
Holy shit.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That guy revved his engine, and that's probably what scared it off.
His buddy's favorite video.
Dude, that is death. That is death. Oh, do you know how fucking terrifying that would be?
All right, stay out of the murky water, and man, I can't say stay out of the woods. I love going in the woods. Take protection out there with you, and I don't mean a prophylactic.
What do you guys know about the Solomon Islands?
The statues?
That's the Easter Islands. Yep. Those ones are wild too. But they're over by Australia. You got these guys, they're driving up out to these mines to check out, I don't know, what you do with the mines.
Yeah.
The survey had. It had rained, and the road is slick. They slip and slide, and they zip off the side of the road.
It's like Dr. Seuss.
They're like, all right, how do we get the truck back on the road? We're going to walk back to town, get 30 dudes together, and we're just going to try to push the truck back on the road. They roll back into town, and as they arrive, there is something else there. There are two roughly 15-foot tall giants.
Whoa.
They had put the truck back on the road. They freak out. The 30 dudes see these very large people. They got red hair.
Oh.
They dip out. They're like afraid, obviously. They go back. The car's still there, but it had been raining.
Footprint.
And there are tons of stories in the Solomon Islands. Like, yeah, giants live in the mountains.
They said they were 13 feet tall.
Yeah.
That's wild.
All right, we need to get a bunch of people together and head to the Solomon Islands and put this mystery to bed.
Perhaps that beautiful clock in Prague shows much more than just the time. Now, you know, if you follow this page, I'm not in any one camp when it comes to globe Earth, flat Earth, but I certainly think it's more than what they tell us. Just look at this map that's in the UN, or this 10-century-old map found in Japan. And I believe the moon is certainly not what they tell us either. Just take a look at this and let me know. How is this possible? Unless the moon is the reflection of our true realm, our true lands beyond the ice. That's why you're not allowed to explore independently above the north or the south once you cross the 60th parallel. We've already been told by many, like Admiral Byrd, that there are vast lands beyond the ice, with an abundance of resources. Now do you understand one of the many reasons why they lie? They want us to think everything is scarce and limitless here, and all of our resources and lands must be strictly controlled and regulated, and we get charged a premium for it in exchange. The truth of our larger realm seems to be hidden in plain sight, much like most of our buried history. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
That is very interesting and intriguing that whenever you look up at our moon, when we have a full moon, it looks like a mirror image of our continents. If they were all facing towards the Earth, it almost looks like it's reflecting our continents back at us if we were on a flat Earth or a flat plane, because it would have to be able to see the entirety of the Earth all at once to be able to get that mirror image reflected back. But very interesting. Does anyone know why that pattern on the moon is so close to our map?
In the heliocentric model of the cosmos, the moon revolves around the Earth 13 times per year, traveling at 2,288 miles per hour, while the Earth revolves around the Sun once per year, traveling at 67,000 miles per hour. The following model and animation illustrate how this is supposed to occur. As you can see, since the moon is revolving around the Earth, which itself is revolving around the Sun, in order to maintain its regular orbit, the moon would have to be constantly and drastically changing its speed in ways completely unaccounted for by the model. In the outer part of its orbit, the moon would have to speed up 67,000 miles per hour, in addition to its regular speed of 2,288 miles per hour, just to keep up with the Earth. So the moon would then be traveling at 69,288 miles per hour when it reached the front of the Earth. At this point, since the moon is allegedly 240,000 miles away from the Earth would catch up in just 4 hours, so the moon must continue traveling 67,000 miles per hour along Earth's trajectory, while simultaneously continuing its now perpendicular 2,288 mile per hour second trajectory. Then, as it turns to reach the inner part of its orbit, the moon must now slow back down to its original speed, allowing the Earth to pass by. Lastly, as it passes behind the Earth, the moon must once again quickly accelerate back up to nearly 70,000 miles per hour before getting left in the dust. In addition to all of this, the Sun itself is allegedly orbiting the Milky Way galaxy at 448,000 miles per hour, further compounding the problems and calculations of the heliocentric model. If this were true, then the Earth, Moon, and other planets would all have yet another set of ridiculous and impossible corkscrewing accelerations and decelerations necessary just to keep up with the Sun. And for the cherry on top, all of these calculations have been assuming perfectly circular orbits, but the actual heliocentric model claims that the Moon's orbit around the Earth's orbit around the Sun, and the Sun's orbit around the Milky Way are all elliptical, not circular, meaning there would be even more additional accelerations and decelerations to calculate depending where each one is along its elliptical path. These constant and drastic accelerations and decelerations necessitated by the heliocentric model are rarely, if ever, mentioned by globe believers, because they have always been taught that the reason we do not feel or experience any of this supposed motion is because we always travel at a constant velocity. In their own model, however, due to their elliptical orbits and revolving around other revolving bodies, the Moon, Sun, Earth, and other planets could not maintain constant velocities and would instead be regularly accelerating and decelerating. Yet, meanwhile, you can stack a house of cards, make a rock cairn, or play a game of Jenga, all without any of this motion, acceleration, and deceleration ever being felt or experienced.
To play devil's advocate on this one, I always pictured it like this. If you have a ball and it's got gravity and you have something that's being held to that ball with gravity, this invisible force, it's constantly moving, trying to get away, but it's locked in and can only stay an exact distance away. I don't know, that makes sense to me. The one thing that doesn't make sense to me is how is the moon always facing towards us in the same direction? Whether this stuff's accurate or not, I mean, this guy could have just mapped out exactly how the universe actually literally works in trying to disprove a global Earth. But I think that whenever you get into numbers like hundreds of thousands of miles an hour, 68,000 miles an hour, 200, blah, 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 blah. I think whenever you're talking in numbers like that, it's so easy to discredit and say, how can anyone know for sure? I mean, we've got people that are way smarter than us that can measure these things. It's just all comes down to, are they being honest with us or not?
Yeah, we can't pass through the Van Allen belts yet. Don't take my word for it. Take NASA's.
As we get further away from Earth, we'll pass through the Van Allen belts, an area of dangerous radiation. Radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion. But Orion has protection. Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation. Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
I guess we're still working on solving this issue? Because I thought
We're also really pushing the boundaries in terms of where we're going forward with exploration. I think humans are naturally driven to do this, and this is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth orbit. I certainly plan on being around to see that.
I don't want to be a jerk because she seems like a nice girl, but newsflash, the moon is way outside low Earth orbit.
The plan that NASA has is to build a rocket called SOS, which is a heavy lift rocket, something that is much bigger than what we have today, and it will be able to launch the Orion capsule with humans on board, as well as landers or other components to destinations beyond Earth orbit. Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations that we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
Once we travel beyond low Earth orbit, the crew will be exposed to larger amounts of radiation. So we have to design both crew protection systems and our electronic systems to withstand this radiation.
But didn't we already design those protection systems for Apollo? Why don't we just use that technology?
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
Wait, we destroyed the technology and we can't recreate it? So nobody wrote anything down? That seems irresponsible.
Oh, you mean irresponsible, like recording over the original moon landing tapes?
Yeah, NASA did that. There are no original high-quality moon landing tapes. They were erased and reused.
Allegedly.
The footage we see of the moon landing was taken in a very strange way. NASA took a video feed from the moon and projected it onto a screen. Then TV stations pointed their cameras at the screen. The stations wanted a direct feed, but NASA refused. That's why the moon landing footage is such a mess. Anyway, the best way to protect a fragile human body from Van Allen radiation is lead shielding. But even a thin layer of lead would have made the Saturn V rocket too heavy to get off the ground. The only protection they had was a thin sheet of aluminum. But aluminum melts at about 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. The electrons in the Van Allen belts have energies of millions of volts. Now this would equate to a temperature of about 10 million degrees Kelvin. So how did NASA overcome this problem? They didn't. Instead, they called Hollywood.
Sure starting to seem more and more like they called Hollywood to me. We had quite the debate in the comment section yesterday over this whole ISS thing and whether those astronauts are really up there. I feel like a lot of people who want to believe no matter what that we don't have any astronauts there is because they're so dead set on the flat Earth theory. They're not claiming to be outside of low Earth orbit, so it still fits within the realm of your theory. I just thought I would point that out because we had some people get really upset yesterday talking about whether or not these astronauts were really in space.
If you think the melting of stone structures is an impossibility, just look up Archimedes' mirror. With a powerful enough lens or mirror, you can easily cause such devastation that could easily melt into form
Hey guys,
stone.
I'm gonna use this giant lens to make lava out of this volcanic rock. Watch this. The heat from the lens has turned the surface of the rock into a pool of lava, and it continues to melt the rock. I'm gonna take the light off so you can see what it's done. You can see the lava is now cooling, and it's turning into a pool of obsidian.
Now take a look at some of these ruins from the old world again. Do these really look like they were carved into rock? Or more likely, a massive megalithic structure, melted and deformed? I think the answer is clear. But what caused this? Was it something like Archimedes' mirror? a man-made event caused by some forgotten ancient war. Just think if they reached a level of advancement like us, with most of our records digitized, what would the world remember in just a few generations with those records lost? Or was it a natural repeating cycle, much like the mud flood or the Great Flood? Let me know what you think. We'll question everything, friends. Until next time.
I like seeing those science experiment videos like that. But that guy raises a very good question. What's going to be left of us if we've digitized all of our history and all of our knowledge, and we're fixing to do away with cash and go to a full digital banking system, so there's not even going to be currency that's hidden away anymore? I mean, people aren't going to hide that because it's not going to be worth anything if we go to an all-digital currency. What is going to be left of us? What's anyone going to find other than skeletal remains and all the trash that we've left around? That'll probably be what lasts the longest is all of our pollution.
Right, let's get this straight right now, right? Why has nobody told me that this thing right here is real? Explain that to me. Explain that to me. And it doesn't stop there. No, here's another one. Look at that. Clearly a woman. Clearly a woman. Don't even know. How is that thing? Explain that. It's not a natural form. And then here's another one. Just a guy. Just a dude. Sat there. Little penguin for you. Then a little bird kissing another bigger bird. Some sort of goat. Not quite sure. Defo a snake. Defo a snake. There's two snakes. Two snakes on top of each other. Then I've no idea what that is, but if they're not teeth, I don't know what are. Defo a little dinosaur. And then a hand. What is going on, people? I mean, check this out, right? Just look at this for a second, and you tell me what this could be. I mean, I'm not sure about that one, but sus. It's a bit sus too. That's defo a person, that though. I'm not even bothered. When did this...
That guy's really reaching for something there on that one. Some of those look like they could have been what they were depicting, but I'm going to say 99% of that is just you hoping. Well, guys, I'm going to call it quits on the video here. That was our last clip. I hope you enjoyed the clips that I put together. I hope that the progress bar is a welcome addition. Let me know if that's getting on you guys' nerves, or if you like that. Let me know down in the comments. And I will catch you tomorrow on the next one. Have a great, safe day, and I will see you tomorrow.